24 years sober, 25 later this summer. You're going to meet Mark, his story, what happened, what life was like, and how did he ever get it figured out.
Restoring hope, open my heart to sing, taking the darkness inside, revealing your light, restoring hope, open my eyes to see the world through different eyes, revealing your light, restoring hope.
Welcome to another edition of Restoring Hope Live Recovery Monday, brought to you by the good folks at Unity Point. Remember Powell CDC. They are there for you, 263-2424. They are there for you whenever you need them. I tell you over and over and over, the reason that we do this show is so you have somebody to contact. You have somebody to call, somebody you know you can trust. What better way to get to know somebody by listening to them on the radio week after week after week after week? You can learn to trust Lila. You can learn to trust Bob. Today I'm going to introduce you to another friend of mine, Peter, who's the president of the Partnership for a Drug-Free Iowa. These are people you can trust. These are not people who the moment you say, my son, my daughter, my husband, my aunt, my grandfather has a substance abuse problem, calls the police or calls 911 and gets them in trouble and embarrasses the whole family. That's no way. It's not done that way when it's done properly. What you do is you get a hold of somebody and you begin to share the story of what you're living with, the hurts, habits, and hang-ups that life is causing you through either your usage or somebody else's. And it's through that, through the sharing of those stories, that we get well. Because our secrets keep us sick. And what better way than to share our secrets than in a forum where everybody can hear them. And that's what Mark's here doing today. I know Mark. This is one of those cases where we've got somebody on who's going to remain anonymous. Mark is a highly successful business person here in town, very public. And even though his story is something he's willing to share with you, he wasn't willing to use his proper name or to show you a picture when he's talking. Although I do think you've got like that gray matter thing that you put up. Yeah, you just become like a men's restroom sign, you know, just this outline. So anyway, Mark, welcome.
Thank you. I have a face for radio anyway, so nobody wants to see what I look like.
Well, that's not
I'm protecting
true.
People, that's all.
Are you?
Yes.
You're protecting my cammers from cracking simultaneously?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, Lila thought that had happened too, and that hasn't happened in, I don't know, we got to count up when we started this. It's over 2 years now, right?
I think so.
I think we started in January or February. Bob Montserrat, the Cat in the Hat, back again, once again, watching the chat for you. So if you want to chime in and tell us what's on your mind, you can log into the chat. It's an easy login. We don't trace you down and don't use. I mean, what do I want to say? It's not for collecting purposes. It's just so you can get on there and say your name and always get a lot of interesting comments. Or you can call in at 244-0077. That's 515-244-0077. If you're hearing this show on Sunday, this is pre-recorded, so please do not call or jump on the chat, as there's no one there to inform you or to discuss anything with you. All right, Peter, I'm going to get to you in a little bit. I want you to tell me about your passion and this organization. Did you found this organization?
No, it was actually founded by Governor Ray, Senator Grassley, and a few other concerned citizens and business people around the state that felt that even though they had never experienced any problems with drugs or alcohol personally, they just thought it wasn't good that Iowans would have to suffer through these things without getting some help.
Good. Yeah, we've had some great governors and administrators to help those people. Robert Ray, and mainly I think about Governor Hughes, so many years ago, who was so bold and daring. Bob, are you old enough to remember Governor Hughes?
Yeah. I do remember when he was governor, but that was a long time ago, though.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just a little kid.
Didn't he come out as a governor with his alcohol problem?
As I'm thinking back, he did bring that up and mention that. and I think it was to help other people.
Yeah, I think wasn't his the first center here in town, the Harold Hughes
Yeah.
substance abuse, whatever it was. Now, what do you remember about him?
I do remember him. I mean, it was kind of a scandal, not a scandal in a bad way, but just people were talking back in the day that this was the guy that had an alcohol problem. And back in the day, people didn't talk about it.
Yeah.
So the fact that he was coming forward and being honest about it, I thought was fantastic. And I remember that as a child. I mean, that people were talking about that. I didn't have any reason to clue into that, but I do remember it.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Guest today again is Mark. Please trust that Mark is who I say he is. And Mark, you told me earlier that you will always remember how long you've been sober because you had a son born, just a few months before?
Mm-hmm. My son was born in July, and I got sober 3 months later. October 5th is my sobriety birthday.
Did that have did you get sober because of that?
You know, it's kind of interesting because, my wife and I really never did fight a whole lot. I had alcoholism in my family as I look back, some of it treated, some of it untreated. But she never went to Al-Anon. She'd never learned anything about that. But and I think it was God, too, that helped her to not be combative, to not nag and, that type of thing. But she got her point across. That day that I did decide that I wanted to get help, she had my son in her hands when I came home, and I had driven home drunk, albeit, 5 blocks or something like that, but still drove home drunk. And she said, you've got more to worry about than just yourself. That's all she said. Mm-hmm. And something hit home. It was it was just a.
Is that your oldest child?
That's my oldest son. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's back up.
We wouldn't have had any more after that, I don't think, if I hadn't got sober.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So let's back up.
Okay.
When was your first taste of alcohol?
First taste of alcohol was pretty young. Grew up in a large family where celebrations like weddings were a big were a big time to drink alcohol, and it was accessible at receptions and that type of thing. So I had my first drink of alcohol at age 11, and had older brothers, had 3 older brothers and an older sister too. So that kind of propagated things through
You were
teenage
the baby
years.
boy?
No, I'm one of the well-adjusted middle child children, but had access to it. I'm at an early age at 11, and then more so, I think, when I was 13, 14, 15, 16, just because I had older brothers that were of age, and where I was growing up to, the age of legal drinking moved to 18. That helped as well.
Where was that?
In Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Yep. Wisconsin, Minnesota.
Now, did you see any unusual behavior centered, or did you recognize any unusual behavior centered around drinking when you were that age?
At that age, no. It was pretty much the social norm in my family and in a lot of the families. It was to have a good time and to drink alcohol. Certainly not normal for an 11-year-old. It's not like my parents allowed me
But were
to.
you really drinking then, or was it like it was kind of neat to sneak it at a reception?
Yeah,
Or-
well, there was probably a little bit more than that. It probably started sneaking or whatever. I remember my first drink was a vodka orange juice, which is I learned out later was a popular drink or whatever. But it wasn't. Yeah, it was ones I would find on the table or something like
Yeah.
that, or somebody would give me.
And did it
thinking that
have an
was funny.
effect on you? Did you like the effect?
Oh yeah, loved the effect. Absolutely.
Did anyone else around you know what was going on?
I think that first time, no. Eventually, because once in a while you'd get sick and that type of thing. So my brothers caught on more so than my parents. We lived upstairs. We had a 2-story house and bathroom upstairs and stuff. So, if you kept your mouth shut, you were pretty good.
Yeah.
Sometimes if you're the type that would drink and then mouth off, that
Yeah.
would probably be noticed more than anything.
Yeah.
So I, believe it or not, tended to be a little more quiet at that time in my life. So not so much now.
Mark is our guest today, and we appreciate you respecting his anonymity I'm not the only person in this room that knows Mark outside of this interview. I know you do,
Yeah.
Lila. So we can both verify to you that we've got a real deal here. His anonymity is important to him, and it should be respected. And I thank you up front for allowing him to be respected that way. Now,
You know, I like it when we do it that way because then people are listening to the story rather than
looking at them.
looking at him and trying to, you know, how do I know that? I mean, everything's about that person. This way, everything's about the story. I like that.
We can do this with anybody. It's real easy
Yeah.
to unplug the camera.
Yeah.
Ryan loves it. He's not running 3 cameras running around. Bob, as a person who spent 35 years working for the state of Iowa as a CSI agent, and a lot of it in alcohol, you're still called to different court cases across the country to testify as an expert in alcohol and what it does to your body. Mark's beginning story is just not that unusual, is it?
Oh, no. It's repeated over and over and over again by many people. You think that people would learn from it, you know, by listening to the stories that people go through, but people evidently feel like they have to experience the same thing and make the same mistakes. And
I'll tell you what, though, as a parent, when you think about your 11-year-old child, you would I would never think of my 11-year-old as drinking. And really not even 13, 14. And about most people that come through these doors start
Yep.
drinking at 13 and 14.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because Lila and Bob and I, not trying to leave you out, Peter or Mark, but it's interesting. Lila and Bob and I will look at each other when I ask that question, when did you have your first drink? 14 is like the magic date. And I'd say, what, 30% of the time, 33% of the time it's 14. The rest of the time it's 13, 14.
Uh-huh.
Or 12, 13, 14.
yeah, and you know, when I was growing up, my parents used to drink beer and wine, and as a kid, I would see it sitting there in the fridge, and I'd go and try it. You know, my first thought was, this is awful. How could anybody drink anything like this? So, but I never, you know, continued, but that was at a young age because it was readily available. It was there, and I saw the folks drinking it, so I thought, hey, let's taste this.
Yeah, same with me. And I remember thinking, oh, this is nasty. Even the whole time I drank, I thought it was nasty.
Yeah.
You know, I'd like to share something with you that was an interesting study done with 5th graders in Atlanta, Georgia.
Now, how old are 5th graders?
11.
11?
11?
Okay.
Yeah.
They did a survey of 5th graders, thousands of them, and asked them if they had a beer preference.
Oh,
83% of them had a beer preference, a favorite beer. Now, that was an interesting correlation because most of them had not tasted beer. What they did find was the beer prevalence correlated exactly with the percentage of television advertising for that beer. So Miller may have been, Bud Light was number 1. Miller, even Heineken at 2%, had about 2% of the kids saying it was their favorite.
Whoa.
So their preferences correlated with what they saw on television, which means they were already behaviorally conditioning themselves to reach out and try and taste that beer.
whoa, that's interesting.
Mark, you're in the media. What was it about 1968 or so, that beer made it onto television?
Boy, I don't remember that. You know, I would have been probably like around 10 at that time. I remember when cigarettes were banned from television advertising.
And I remember then when they started allowing alcohol, hard
Sure,
liquor.
Sure.
And I
Yeah.
just blew me away.
Yeah.
You know, even back then, I don't even think I was drinking when that started.
Yeah.
But still, really, we have to advertise this?
Yeah, I'll tell you, you know, and I that doesn't surprise me at all that, you know, as prevalent as the sponsorships and whatnot at sporting events and whatnot, even in keeping it out of college sporting events here in Iowa, that it has an effect. I remember growing up and there was a cartoon, The Hamm's Beer.
Yeah.
There, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, I remember all those things. And at an early age, I don't really think, you know, I don't think at that point that, oh, I'm going to have a Hamm's Beer because of the Hamm's Bear or whatever.
Right.
But it has to have an effect. I mean, it has to.
Yeah.
I mean,
When you look at long-term use, they find that about 80% of adults that have had problems with alcohol started drinking extensively before the age of 18, at a very young age, which tells us that if we can limit the access and the use of alcohol before
Yeah.
18, we can have a tremendous reduction in abuse.
We're here we're talking to you, and we thank you for listening to us. This is Restoring Hope Live on The Truth, powered by webcast1live.com.
A father who is headed toward another heart attack. A woman who struggles daily with diabetes and her memory. A boy whose headaches keep him out of school. A mother who one morning discovers a lump. A girl whose condition defies diagnosis. You come to us because you need answers, but you also need more. You need understanding of what you're going through. You need comfort. You need to be treated as an individual, not a condition. You need to be included in your own care. You are the point of everything we do. That's why we're changing to Unity Point Health. It's a model of care that will help us work better together, where the physician who knows you best takes the lead, coordinating your care through every step, from the hospital to specialists to rehabilitation to health services in the home and in the community, to making sure the treatments are effective. By working as a team, we surround you with care, helping you manage your health and your conditions, guiding you to making better choices and living a healthier life. The point of Unity is you. Unity Point Health.
Hey, psst. Let me let you in on a little secret. You ready? Always try to do business with people, not places, especially if you seek honest Christian business people. And when it comes to my car, I really need to trust who's working on it. Now, my family is so blessed. A few years ago, we found a family-owned automobile repair shop that operates as a Christian business also. Open, honest, reliable, trustworthy. It's AMCO on Hickman Road in front of Kmart, and it's a family-owned Christian operating business. This family treats your car as if it was their car. Everything from oil changes to transmission repair and everything in between. So the next time you feel the need to be at peace with your choice of who you can trust with your car, give AMCO on Hickman a chance to serve you. And tell them Max sent you.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Restoring hope, open my heart to sing, taking the darkness inside, revealing your light, restoring hope.
21 minutes after the hour, we thank you for tuning in today to Recovery Monday, brought to you by Powell CDC. Remember, 263-2424. That's a 515 area code. And if you're listening to this or watching this podcast and you live way outside of Iowa, you live in another part of the country, you live somewhere overseas, for heaven's sakes, you can still use us as a source to help you find the people in your area to get the help that you need for either yourself or your mother or father or sister or brother or the guy sitting in the booth next to you. That's why we do this. We have a saying that, you know, we need to share our lives and share our stories. And through that, God just picks up those nuggets of wisdom and just kind of whiffles them through the air. And the right one will land on you. It's exactly what you've been waiting to hear. It's probably something you've known for a long time. We call them blind spots. And when it hits home between the eyes, you realize that you've been spoken to. And by whatever God it is that you understand, you then know it's time to do something about this issue that I have. And the folks at Powell CDC, Lila, Peter is here, Komendowski. Peter is the president of a partnership, Drug Free for Iowa. He's here to help you. Bob's here to help you. I'm here to help you. Probably the only person here that wouldn't help you would be Ryan, because Ryan's already got about, 10 guys that you help? 4. Okay, well, Ryan's a great guy, man, for 21, right? 21 years old? This young man has his stuff so together, and it's rooted right in the Word. What a foundation. We could all be so lucky. All right, my guest today is, we're calling him Mark. He appreciates his anonymity in the community that he lives in. He's very visible, and he was more than willing to come in and tell his story, but didn't want to show his face or his full name. So trust me, please. Trust Lila. Well, we both know him. He is who he says he is. In fact, I was thinking, how long have we known each other?
Oh, wow.
I came to Des Moines in 78.
Well, and I'm trying to think when our friend Phil, I was working with him at Brand X Radio.
That would have been
80, 90, early 90s?
No, I would say mid-80s.
Mid-80s?
I would say mid-80s. Yeah, he was here from mid-80s to 2000.
Yeah. Can I tell a quick story?
Please.
You would show up in the back in your Cadillac, I do believe, and you had a trunk full of booze, and you were handing out bottles of booze for Christmas.
I love it.
That's what I remember about Mac back then.
It was my white Lincoln Continental.
Things have come full circle.
I would know what people like to drink, and he's right. I'd have a trunk load full of cases.
Yeah, where were you when I needed that?
And I would always bring somebody down at Brand X. Smirnoff, I think, was his drink.
Yeah.
And, that was...
I don't want to get too far off topic, but, yeah, we've known each other a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you were one of the guys that I'll never forget when I saw you in the first meeting, you came over and you and another guy, and you looked at me and you said, or maybe he said this, but you look and you said, I've been waiting for you.
Yeah, I'm not that smart. I was I try to go over people that I recognize, try to go over and, make them feel welcome, because there's a certain amount of uncomfortableness. I do take my anonymity seriously, but, I don't mind sharing if somebody's there for a reason and they need help, that type of thing. That they know who I am, obviously, especially if they know me. But there's that uncomfortableness sometimes, and you just want to go over and make them feel comfortable.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I'm here, you're here, we're here for a reason, and,
Yeah, you made me feel very comfortable that day, because in those early days, I wasn't like you guys. I wasn't an alcoholic.
Sure.
I just, and for heaven's sakes, AA, seriously? Those are the bums under the bridge with the bottles and the bags and unemployable. And then, one of the things you taught me, because I have a lot of respect for you and always have, oh my gosh, if he could be, maybe I could be too. Mm-hmm. If he could be sober that many years, I think you were just sober 20 years at the time. That was 5 years ago. And if he can be sober for 20 years and be successful, then I can too. And I remember thinking that when I saw you at Presbyterian on Thursday at noon. That was the first time I saw you. So anyway, Peter, you are you're the president of the Partnership for a Drug-Free Iowa. It's not getting better out there, is it?
No. And quite frankly, a lot of it has to do with the fact that the causes that influence our children to take high-risk behavior and take these chances with drugs and alcohol are not really something we've paid a lot of attention to. We see it in less people attending faith-based educational programs and going to church. We see an increase in social media where kids are playing video games and internet and doing all this crazy stuff. And we're starting to see behavior that's acceptable, like surfing the net and stuff, in the context of the vocabulary of addiction, like kids going, I OD'd on Facebook, or I'm hungover on video games. Those are really dangerous precedents, because for the first time we're seeing children using the vocabulary of addiction in the context of something we think is innocent and won't hurt us. And where have we seen that before? It's just a drink, it's just a joint, a few little things aren't going to hurt us.
Yeah, well, it's like Mark said, the Hamm's beer, or the Camel cigarette guy, or the Marlboro man, and...
Well, now it's the marijuana guy.
Yeah.
Weed makes you better. It makes you healthy.
Yeah.
Around the turn of the century, they used to give whiskey to workers on the East Coast and tell them that it was an elixir for improving productivity. That was a great salesman for whiskey, but I don't think productivity went up.
Yeah. Mark, you started talking about how you probably took your first drink when you were around 11.
Mm-hmm.
Older brothers, older sister, a lot of influence, just seemed to be normal for you. When was your first knockdown, drag out drunk?
Wow.
And that would
good
be
question. Good question.
when you woke up in the morning and went, that's not normal. That's not right. That wasn't cool.
Oh, probably at that point, probably maybe 15 or 16, I suppose.
Okay.
16.
How did it impact you at school?
I all through school, I went through high school and was very functional. Really never missed much school at all. I could rebound really well as far as that's concerned. I got good grades. I studied. I played sports. That's the other part of it. I played football, hockey, and baseball, and was able to do all that and still hide that other side. And it was a thing that got progressively worse. So I mean, at that stage, I mean, looking back, even I still have some thoughts of that it was manageable. And it was to a certain extent because I was able to keep it a secret, a quiet, that type of thing. I drank to blackout one time, and that was when I was 30 years old.
Wow. Okay.
So, it was, and I look at more of I had episodes, episodic is the way I looked at it. And, we're not there yet, but when I got to the point where I decided that I wanted to quit, I looked at it as like a bullet in the chamber of a revolver. There was one bullet in there to begin with, and you'd spin the wheel, and things rarely would go wrong, Then as things progressed, there'd be, again, theoretically and symbolically, another bullet in the chamber. And things started just happening more regularly then. Mm-hmm. And that hit home to me, along with my wife's statement when I came home.
Mark is our guest today. He's 24 years. He'll be 25 years sober later this year. You said you had one blackout.
Mm-hmm.
Was that the beginning of I can't do this anymore, or did you just fly right by that one?
Oh, I flew right by that one. Although it was concerning just because, I didn't, that's the first time I ever drank and didn't remember. So I didn't say I flew right by it, but obviously that was not the triggering factor completely because it was 2 years later that I quit.
Any OWIs?
No, I can go through all those yet. I never had an OMWI. We call them OMVUIs in Minnesota or whatever, operating motor vehicle while intoxicated. I like OWI because it hurts, but operating a motor vehicle, never had any of that, didn't lose, a job, didn't lose a wife or a family or anything. And I always like to add yet. Because
that's the good. Because it's a progressive disease.
Oh, it was hard for me when I came in because, like you, Mac, I was looking for all the reasons why I didn't fit, all the differences. And people in recovery told me, look for the similarities. And that helped me because I was very similar in a lot of ways. But I heard a lot of stories that were a lot more difficult or went through a lot more than I had to yet. And for that, I'm grateful I haven't had to, go through all that, but
it makes it hard to admit you're an alcoholic, though, when it's like, well, I didn't lose my job, or I didn't get an OWI, or I didn't have that many problems, so maybe I'm not really. I can remember that too.
Yeah.
So you said you quit 2 years after that blackout.
Yeah, I would have been 32 when I got sober.
All right. So between 30 and 32, it sounded like maybe you had turned the corner, that now you didn't like this so much anymore.
Yeah, I do. Certain instances that after that episode made me think, because I know, my wife went and traveled to visit some family or something, and I couldn't go for whatever reason. And I remember drinking more when she was gone, and then starting to hide it, kind of like, well, I wouldn't want to leave that bottle here because that's empty, or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I'm not talking stacks of bottles, but just that type of thinking, and I don't know what kind of clarity I had at that point, but, I knew deep down, well, why am I doing this? There's something wrong with this, you know, what's going on? You know,
Well,
that I
when
feel
you
the
did
need.
quit, you didn't relapse, did you?
I'm a
Or
street
did-
kid. You know, I went into recovery and found a 12-step program that is outstanding and works for me. And I look at, you know, when I came in, I wanted to do it one day at a time. And through the grace of God and a lot of people like you and Mac that helped me when I first came in, no, I have not yet.
I remember you at the beginning,
You know.
and you had a lot of energy, a lot of positive energy, and really wanted it. That's
Yeah.
how I remember you.
Yeah,
So-
no, I have not had a slip or you know, went back, resigned, and resumed for any length of time. Don't plan on it, but then again, you know, nobody does.
Yeah.
And I've got today, so that's what I
Yeah.
look at. You know, but yeah, you can quit and not slip and not, you know, I know people that have done that. You know.
Yeah.
What happened with your culture of friends when you finally? Well, how did that change? And
You know, it's interesting because, you know, at age 32, I did make a job change pretty closely, not related to that.
I'm going to stop you
Sure.
right here because I
Yeah.
think this is going to be a good story.
Sure.
And we're running up against a break. So we'll start. Peter, that's a great question. You know, the playmates and playgrounds and that type of stuff. And so we'll pick that up when we come back. Mark is our guest today, 24 years sober. Of course, Lila is here from Unity Point, Powell CDC. And Bob Montserrat, the cat in the hat, watching the chat. And our special panelist today, Peter Komandowski, and he is the president of the Partnership for a Drug-Free Iowa. And we'll continue the last couple of years, what happened with Mark and why did he finally put the plug in the jug. It's coming up live here on Recovery Monday, brought to you by Powell CDC here on The Truth, 99.3.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I'm Brian Leach, owner of Service Legends, and my position is Chief Talent Officer.
I'm Nicholas Wonderscheid,
I am Bernie Hobbs,
and I'm the Service Manager.
Marketing Director and Client Relations Manager.
Everything that we do is about ensuring that we exceed your expectations.
Our clients are important to us. 100% satisfaction.
We're not just focused on heating and cooling. That's the easiest part of our job, actually, is fixing furnaces and air conditioners.
Everyone that we come in touch with, we want to improve lives.
Bottom line is, we've got our installation guarantees, 25% energy savings guarantee, comfort guarantee, temperature selection guarantee, property protection guarantee.
100% satisfaction guaranteed, fixed rate or it's free.
All of those guarantees are backed up with a 100% money-back guarantee to hold ourselves accountable to making sure that you get what you're after.
Just fixing the problem today. If they have another problem 5 days down the road, it's still fixed rate or it's free.
We use what's called straightforward pricing. Our technicians are going to give you an exact to-the-penny price on what it's going to take before they move forward with any repair. That way you know what to expect.
It's the same price every day.
No surprises.
If you get off work at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you come home, you realize that, oh, my furnace is broken. Now you need to call somebody out that night. You shouldn't have to pay more for that.
We're guaranteeing service 24/7.
We run afternoons, evenings, nights, weekends. We're staffed to work that.
Phone rings at 3 in the morning. You'll get one of our representatives answering the phone every time.
We're not sending you out to Timbuktu in some call center. It's our Service Legend team members, our mission control team,
I'll take a call anytime.
and then they answer the phones the same way during the day as they do at night.
It's a great day at your service company. How can we make you smile?
That's the only way to provide true 24-hour service.
When you're able to let somebody actually live in their home safely when they weren't able to do that before, where they don't have to stay up at night and worry about, is the heat going to come back on? Are we going to freeze the pipes? Is the baby in the room next door going to be sick because they got too cold? When you're able to help somebody overcome challenges like that, that's impacting a life. That makes a difference. I get goosebumps thinking about it.
I love the team. I love the people that I work with.
We have fun, but we work hard.
I call them my ambassadors of legendary service. If you could just envision what that is, that's who we're sending to your home.
They literally will call in, pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I want to talk to your manager. And I get on the phone, they're like, that technician that was at my house was the greatest technician ever. That's cool to me.
We want to brighten people's days.
Every person that we have going into the house has gone through an extensive background check.
Drug testing, we have a very thorough interview process that 1 out of 140 people make it through.
If we promise you something, that's what you're going to get, no matter what.
We're here when you need us. to protect the safety and comfort of your family.
If you're not happy, we're going to make it right.
If we're willing to put 100% money-back guarantee on what we do, what type of work do you think we do?
Give us a call. We're there for you 24/7, 365 days a year.
Enough said.
Restoring hope, open my heart to sing, taking the darkness inside, revealing your light, restoring hope.
Oh, welcome back, and thank you, Mac Baird from the band Spoken for writing, for writing, creating, producing, singing, and playing in our theme song, Restoring Hope Live. This is Recovery Monday, brought to you by the good folks down at Powell CDC. Remember, you do know somebody. Yes, you do. You can't use that as an excuse anymore. Well, I don't know who'd I call. I don't want to tell the minister, and I don't want to let my girlfriends know. They'll just worry about it. And his golf buddies, I just can't tell anybody. I'll just keep it a secret. And those secrets make you sick. So if all you need to do is just flush it out, call Lila, call me, call Peter, call Bob. Just start the conversation. Because nobody's going to make you get sober or quit drugs until you decide you want to. Oh, there's a saying, if you've got a problem with your liver, your lover, or the law, you probably have a problem with alcohol. But in your case, Mark, you didn't have a problem with the liver, lover, or alcohol.
No, not like you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. But at 32, something tripped.
Yeah.
And you just said it was time. Now Peter asked you about your playmates and playgrounds.
That's a very good question. I started with saying, like, okay, people that I worked with, I made a career change, job change, not really a career change. And, and I learned through the recovery program just to say you don't drink. And that made it a lot easier. I think had I stayed where I was at, I was known for drinking. I was the life of the party, just, pretty gregarious. And although I'm still that way without the alcohol, it was a little bit easier for me to say, no, I just don't drink, and more people today don't drink. I mean, I go to social functions, I go to weddings and that type of thing. And I'm perfectly fine drinking a Diet Coke. If for some reason I think there's going to be people there that are going to be asking me or trying to, ask me if I want drinks and stuff, I'll take a Diet Coke and put a lime in it with a stir, and they pretty much leave you alone.
Yeah.
But friends, there was a couple of friends, and even growing up, we talked about going back to a 35-year class reunion, and I was mentioning most of the guys that I drank with and hung out with, either were in recovery or they were dead, and so that's my experience. And, as far as friendship, those two that are still friends with me today, we're not as close as we used to be, I think, just because they are drinking and I'm in recovery, and we don't have that much in common that ways. I don't go out at night that much, I don't do a lot. I don't go into bars that much unless I have a reason to be there, whether it be a going away party, a celebration, and I don't frequent them and hang out.
I noticed that too, that once you quit drinking, I mean, you can still be friends, but you don't have that much in common anymore. I have one of my really good friends. We used to camp out. We did all kinds of stuff together, but the main thing was drinking. And a couple years after I was sober, it was like, why are we there anything to do anymore?
Yeah. See, one of the things I admire you for, Lila, is I don't know how you do the lake thing at summer. That I've not been able to return to my playground because I know that if I return to my playground, it's not going to be too long until that drink tells me that I'm back home and it's okay.
I'll tell you, it's the meeting up there on Saturday nights that, and I tell the people up there that meeting has kept me sober because Saturday nights at our cottage are still wild and crazy. And I have to get out of there and get to a meeting just to get centered, and then I can come back and just see how obnoxious it is. I don't need to be part of it. But that meeting really, really helped me.
Meeting makers make it, right?
Yeah.
And it's true.
Yeah.
It's not an old cliche.
And this meeting up there, I mean, it's a small town, and they're all. It was my fear of what a 12-step meeting would be. A bunch of old, dirty old men, and that's what it is. But I love them all, and they've helped keep me sober.
Lila Stafford is here. She's with Unity Point, Powell, CDC. Bob Monster at the Cat in the Hat. Watching the chat, you can always log on. Go to webcast1live.com, webcast1live.com. And you can watch this program. I call it Passionate Radio with pictures. You can watch this program. You can also log on to the chat. And also Peter Komendowski is here. I'm just going to keep saying it till I get it right.
Maybe Peter would be anonymous, and it would be a little easier for you.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, he's president of the Partnership for Drug-Free Iowa. All right, so anything prior to walking in drunk on your butt with your wife holding your 3-month-old son, anything prior to that really shook your ground? Obviously, you didn't have a low bottom.
Did you have to drink? I mean, did you feel like every day?
I didn't physically. I mean, I look forward to it. I mean, that was my whole work week, was looking forward to Friday, Saturday, Sunday, It was all focused towards that. Occasionally, in the business that we were in, we would drink at lunch, and that type of thing. But that would make me sleepy in the afternoon.
Yeah.
That would just
great.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh!
We were all there. The thing of it is, it's like, I'd be off and running then too, And so why would I want to just have 2 at lunch or 3 at lunch or whatever?
Yeah.
That would be the rest of the day and that night or whatever. But no, I never physically, never got to that point where I had the shakes or, had trouble withdrawals, that type of thing. But I, certainly been around people that have needed that help.
Mark, can I ask a question?
Sure.
You really contextualize a lot in terms of what you don't do anymore and how things have changed.
Mm-hmm.
But looking at you see great peace. So there's got to be a lot of really good things that have happened too.
Oh, absolutely. I had a wonderful childhood. I really did. I mean, we'd go out and we'd play baseball all day as youngsters, and I'd get maybe a little bit too much sun and get sunburned because I'm pasty white. But, there's been a lot of things, and my faith is important to me. I mean, I don't mind talking about that because I think it's important. But I think in some cases, people get turned off by that, and that's not going to keep me from talking about it. But I usually don't lead with that. I lead with, what I was like growing up. When I'm working with somebody, what I was like. What turned my life around, how I did it, and I did it, with a 12-step program and a good sponsorship, and that's try to lead by example there. But I have a strong faith, and without that higher power that I have, I wouldn't be here today and, have the life I have today, because I have a beautiful wife. Anybody that knows my wife and knows me, they all know that I outkicked my coverage, and she's a great, great, great woman, and I'm lucky to have her, and 3 great young men for boys that turned out just awesome, And I pray for them every day. I pray for their health, their wealth, their happiness. And I had concerns having 3 boys that, that one of them could possibly be, with this disease. And so far, nothing's, come about with that. But again, yet, and so
yeah,
they're aware of what is this disease is all about, and they all have their own personalities and their own way of doing things. And, as a father, I try to monitor and, but my youngest now is going to be 19. So, you really, for me anyway, Julie and I tried to instill our very best at a young age and then monitor who they hung around with through junior high and high school. And I had a unique perspective because I knew all the stuff I did, especially in junior high and high school. And that was one of the reasons why Julie and I decided that and she wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. But when they were younger, but I said it's even more important when they're in junior high that you're there after school, because that's when we did everything.
Yeah, latchkey kids.
Oh, yeah. And I don't blame my mom and dad. They both worked. Nope. And, we had our responsibilities and we had stuff we had to do and all that kind of stuff. It just made me very organized and compartmentalized to get everything I needed to get done and still be able to party and have all the fun.
Mark's my special guest today. He's anonymous today, and we appreciate that you allow that. When we come back, what his life is like now. Of course, we have Lila here, we have Bob Montserrat, we have Peter, and most importantly, we have you. Thanks for listening to Recovery Monday on KTIA, Iowa.
A father who is headed toward another heart attack. A woman who struggles daily with diabetes and her memory. A boy whose headaches keep him out of school. A mother who one morning discovers a lump. A girl whose condition defies diagnosis. You come to us because you need answers, but you also need more. You need understanding of what you're going through. You need comfort. You need to be treated as an individual, not a condition. You need to be included in your own care. You are the point of everything we do. That's why we're changing to Unity Point Health. It's a model of care that will help us work better together, where the physician who knows you best takes the lead, coordinating your care through every step, from the hospital to specialists to rehabilitation to health services in the home and in the community, to making sure the treatments are effective. By working as a team, we surround you with care, helping you manage your health and your conditions, guiding you to making better choices and living a healthier life. The point of Unity is you. Unity Point Health.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can give these grandkids back, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We can help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Restoring hope, open my heart to sing, taking the darkness inside, revealing your light, restoring hope.
Welcome back, Recovery Monday, brought to you by Powell CDC. We tell stories here. We ask people to come in and tell their stories, their journeys. And we pray that a nugget of wisdom, just one little thing from Mark's story today, peeled off and landed on you, and you went, oh, I never heard that before. That's exactly what I needed. That's why we do this. There's so many other things, fun things, uplifting things that I'd like to talk about on a Monday. There's things in society and social media. There's things that's going on in our kids' schools, our churches, our synagogues. But God brought me here for a purpose. He told me about 6 months into my sobriety that I didn't get to be anonymous. And it's been obvious why. I'm so blessed to have, I don't know, a couple, 3, 4 people that kind of has saw me the way I saw you that day, Mark. One guy I'm thinking about right now is a sponsoree of mine, 8 months, and he'll tell you the story that his wife literally drove him to his first AA meeting and says, you're going to do this, scared to death, and he walked in and he saw me sitting there because he used to come into my restaurants and drink, and he knew he was in the right place at that point. And this guy goes to 1 to 2 meetings a day and has for 8 months, and he's such a good program, but he'd be dead. He'd be dead if he hadn't done that. And so that's why we do this show, because we know the consequences of not taking care of it. Now, Peter Komanowski is here. He's the president of the Partnership for Drug-Free Iowa, and you had a message come in on via text or via the chat, Bob.
Yeah, correct. And it's from Frank.
Frank the Verse.
The Verse. Yeah, absolutely. And it's about the something that's pushed by recreational pot users. He's making a statement here saying that they use epilepsy and glaucoma to jerk at heartstrings as a backdoor to legalize pot. Any comment on that?
You know, it's absolutely true. Those of us that grew up in the drug culture in the 60s and 70s, you know, realize that things like marijuana aren't just simple recreational drugs. They're very complex and they have a lot of addiction issues. I think if you take a look at it, go back to Jerry Maguire, it's follow the money. In every state where marijuana was first predicated on helping a few people, before long it's curing cancer and it's doing everything else, and they're selling it recreationally. There's no doubt that these unscrupulous people trying to push recreational marijuana are using the pain and the desperation of a few parents searching for any cure they can. We have great empathy and compassion for people that want to help any sick child that needs any kind of drug. When I was dealing with cancer as a cancer survivor, I can't tell you how many hours I spent on the internet looking. I would have gone to Mexico, South America. They say choose some crazy jumping bean and cure cancer. If the odds had worked out that things didn't go as well as they did, I'd have done it. So I can't fault the parents for having hope, but a false hope nurtured by an industry that's making millions off of addiction, you got to start thinking about following that money and saying this may not be in God's eyes the right thing to do.
Okay, I want to ask a very tender, careful question. We watched some mothers come to the forefront of this last legislative round here in Iowa and beg for the marijuana oil.
It's cannabidiol.
Say it again?
Cannabidiol.
All right. And it does not have any of the elements that make you high.
It doesn't have the THC, tetrahydrocannabinol.
And supposedly, if you take this oil and you rub it on babies or young children who have epilepsy and other horrible...
or even take it as orally.
Orally.
Mm-hmm.
Is that all just baloney?
It's not baloney from the point of view of the FDA and the research that's being done, because there's a clinical trial at the Children's Hospital at University of Iowa now. They're trying to figure out if it works. The preliminary studies, and there have been very few because this is a new thing, have shown that as many children that use it have worse symptoms that have good results.
Okay.
So that's dangerous, because if you start telling people this is going to be good and it makes their child worse, we're now hurting the same people we're trying to help. So in America, we have something called the Federal Drug Administration. We can be pro-government, anti-government, but the fact is that when you've got millions of people to care for, you have to make sure that that CBD or whatever you're delivering is now tested, that we're sure it has some medical efficacy, and that doctors are confident in it, none of which have yet been proven. So when this rush to market, yeah, we'd love to find a miracle drug to help any child that's sick. What's happening is the unscrupulous people trying to promote selling recreational marijuana are using that. I'm not saying that these people aren't deserving of a medical trial and effective techniques to validate its potential, but we're not there yet, and it's going to take time. And the sad thing is we have to wait.
Will any of us in our lifetime see legalized marijuana 50 states like it is in Colorado?
Well, there might have been a time they asked that about alcohol.
Right.
So you don't know. Our government may or may not be run by the elected officials accountable to the community, and may or may not be run by lobbying groups. There's a lot of money in the marijuana business like there is in the alcohol business. It's the reason that the advertising was so pervasive that we talked about, and it's the reason so many young children are being influenced. The fear with marijuana is never the idea that an adult may have the right to do what they want to do with themselves, for better or worse. The fact is that when we normalize that view of a drug, like alcohol, more children will do it. And when more children do it, obviously Mark's been testament to the consequences.
Mark, if you could, if your vote could ban the use of alcohol in the United States of America, would you do it?
No, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do it. But I will tell you that alcohol is just as much a drug as cocaine, heroin. I mean, I feel that strongly about it, that it's as addictive, if not more addictive. And then, too, if you're trying to rehab from it and detox yourself, it's more dangerous to come off of alcohol than just about any drug.
Yeah.
You know, with seizures and whatnot. But I agree with you. I mean, I happen to be in Colorado. I happen to be in California. You know, you got a bad back, they'll write you a script right there on the beach. I mean, it's just, you know, and unfortunately, you know, that's the consequences. And I certainly understand what you said. I think you stated it eloquently as far as the parents are concerned, and I have a tremendous amount of empathy for those people. But you know, that's I think that the end would justify the means there, and I would think that, in my opinion, I think the genie's out of the bottle. I really do, and it's unfortunate, in my opinion, with marijuana. But I wouldn't outlaw alcohol. It just doesn't work.
I would agree with you on the genie's
but it's just
out of
as
the bottle.
dangerous. I mean, I really do believe, especially for children.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's studies that if you start smoking pot early, it affects the development of your brain.
Yeah. Well, Mark, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
For being here. I appreciate you telling your story. Lila and Bob, as always, it's a great Monday way to start out the week with the two of you, and I appreciate you being here. Peter, thanks for coming in. You're welcome anytime, by the way.
Hey, I love coming. I love what you're doing. Thanks for what you do.
That microphone's always open for you anytime. Seriously. Especially in the new studio. We got lots of room here. And otherwise, we'll see you again next Monday for another edition of Recovery Monday, brought to you by Powell CDC. Until then, think of someone that you need to forgive. On your knees tonight, forgive them. And it's as you forgive, you shall be forgiven. I'll see you in church.
Restoring hope.